Hey guys, Bryan Stahl here, the teacher, the student, and the entrepreneur. And today, I'm definitely the student. I have a special guest for you here. He's a doctor. He was a scientist at NASA. He's the co-creator of Zoosk. He's my mentor, my advisor. He has one of the best products I've ever seen come out for self-employed, for salespeople, for anybody, called Mentorbox. And I want to introduce Mehr. Alex, thanks for coming on my little podcast. And I wanted to get right to it.
Bryan, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
What made you think of and develop a product like Mentorbox? Like, where'd that come from?
So, I owe a lot of things that I've learned that helped me actually. So I've spent years in the education system. I went to undergrad, years of grad school and postdoctorate studies. But things that really helped me become successful in business, I primarily learned through books. And because of that, I've been gifting a lot of good books to my friends, but it always bothered me that when I gave them a book, gifted them a book, it ended up on their shelves and they never opened it. So one of the things that, that was in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, these are great books. Reading it definitely benefits people, but why don't my friends actually read them? And it turned out that the main reason is that a lot of people are not, their primary way of learning is actually not reading. A lot of people learn through visual learning, auditory learning, or kinesthetic, meaning learning by doing. And that was the idea behind Mentorbox.
It's amazing. And like, you have a live example right in front of you here. So I have a 20-day-old baby. I have a 2-year-old, an 18-year-old, and 4 businesses. And I can't see without reading glasses. So when I read super slow. So before I knew about Mentorbox, I was doing audio and I was listening in my car. That still would take me 10 hours.
Exactly. And one way to think about it is like, audiobooks are great. I have nothing as audiobooks. I listen to them myself all the time. The problem with audiobooks is that, one, like you mentioned, it's long. Second, it kind of, in my brain, it doesn't make sense that you package the knowledge in the form of a book, meaning written format, and then have somebody read it. Yeah. It kind of feels like an unnecessary step. Why don't you develop it for visual auditory right from the beginning, So it would be as if, like, if you want to, a lot of movies are based on books. It would be as if, instead of creating a movie about the story of a book, you have someone read the novel to you, right? It doesn't work that way. So you take the same story and you create, for a new medium, you create a movie out of it, right? So that's basically what we do with Mentorbox. Instead of having somebody read a book to you, we bring the author in, and authors actually a lot of times have extra color and experience and examples that they can use when they're presenting the material to you. Does that make sense? So it becomes a lot more easy to absorb, a lot shorter, a lot more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And what I was saying, I'm like the perfect customer for you. So I drive 30 minutes back and forth. It would take me a couple weeks, 3 weeks to get through one book. And I found your product. So the last book I just read was called Persuasion. And to my audience, here's what's amazing about this product. If you're really like trying to scale your business and you have a family life and time is the most precious thing that I can get my hands on. So I listened to that video, I did the workbook, and I took those lessons that were you guys extracted from the book, and I applied it to my business of persuasion. And this is no lie. Like that book is mainly about, how your audience sees you before you ever even say anything. You're persuading them by doing certain things, either online or out in the public, or if they walk into your store. I can tell you the knowledge that I got from that compared to Audible books where they don't highlight and pull out the lessons and have you do an exercise. Tell me if I'm wrong. This is $7 a month right now?
Yes, that's right.
So $7 a month, I can literally read or do 1 to 2 books a week. And what's the average CEO read? I saw studies on it, but I don't really know what's right.
Yeah, I mean, 50, they say Elon Musk read two a day or used to read two a day. Bill Gates does 50 a year. So it is actually, I mean, and it makes sense. So if you are a successful CEO or a business person, really your primary day-to-day activity shouldn't be around tactical things, reading emails, replying to emails. You got to do that too. But end of the day is about strategy and tactics, and the strategy and tactics comes from a lot. You can't really pull a lot of these things out of your head, out of vacuum, right? So for example, the concept of persuasion that you mentioned by Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini is a godfather of science of influence and persuasion. So he wrote a book called Influence many years ago. I can't remember how many. I read it as a teenager. It's called Influence, and it's an amazing book, right? And then he didn't write another book until recently, the book that you mentioned, Persuasion. And everybody says that, persuasion is like the next breakthrough in the science of persuasion. So you have a person like that writing a book. It's actually a thick book. I want to say it's like 400 pages or something. And then I get the person to come in, and we license the book, and we have the person come in, and Robert Cialdini himself lectures you on what he has learned through his research in the past, 20 years or so. You can't just pull that out of your own head, right? You just learn directly from the person in a very short amount of time, and you just level up with little effort. So that's what I like about Mentorbox.
It's incredible. And I love this product so much. I came to Alex and Ty Lopez is your partner, right? In this. So I came to those guys and I was like, I love this so much. I want to be an investor. I want to be part of it. And they had a round of very few people that would invest. I flew out there to meet you and to discuss it. And guys, Alex doesn't have to do this. Probably once every 2-3 months, Alex and I get on the phone and he gives me an hour of his time and just helps me walk through business. I realized the difference between cash flow business and businesses that memberships from Alex. He's opened my eyes that I was playing so small that I thought I was doing great when really, like I said this before, I thought I was like an 8 or 9. I'm really a 5 swimming in a sea of 3s. And there's so much more out there. So he let me be part of this. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing this to you, every time I read a book, I'm either gaining ground on people ahead of me or I'm putting myself further out from all my competitors. But I think everybody needs to know about this product. And I loved it so much is why I asked to be a part of it. And I appreciate you letting me be involved. And one thing, you were just ringing the bell on the New York Stock Exchange, correct?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because guys, that doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen. And I tell people, it took me a lot to get to Alex, in with him, fly out to his house. You're probably not going to be able to get to Alex, but you might be able to get to me, and I'm learning from Alex. So how did all that go?
I tell you, this is interesting to me, Bryan. When I was actually on the balcony, so you go up on a balcony and,
I saw it.
Yeah. So, what was the main thing that was crossing my mind? The main thing that was crossing my mind, the only thing I was thinking about was, let this not be where I peak. So let this not be the peak of my career. That's literally all I was thinking. And then after the ceremony is done and you're walking out of the balcony, there's a little staircase that go down. There's a wall, and everybody who's ever rang the bell, they give you a marker and you can write something on the wall.
Wow.
And what I wrote was, again, what I thought. I'm like, let this not be my last time. And then I put a date on there. And hopefully I can do this again, and then I'll go write another note. Didn't I tell you this will not be my last time?
Man, well, you've inspired me to go multiple levels up. So part of this show, before we came on with you, I was just sitting with my Spanish teachers taking a Spanish lesson, because I've launched the Spanish division of Fidelis, and we just started it here. So you've inspired me to think outside the box, to be uncomfortable, and to take risk. There's really no way I can lose at this point. And And even if I don't meet my goals of all those, how bad is it going to be if I do have a $100 million company? You know, what if I don't reach my goals? So I really appreciate you being on this. I just wanted you to explain Mentorbox. I wanted to thank you for letting me be a part of it. And I'm doing a book once a week.
And Bryan, at some point you're gonna write your own book, and I want your book in Mentorbox as well.
Well, my book is actually, it's written. We'll see how good it is once it's all completed and put together. It's actually my story of going from negative $40,000 in debt to a $5 million company. And now this show is us going from 5 million with no finish line at the end of the day. And it's by doing things, like part of it is me connecting to you. You can't just, you're never going to come to a guy like me. So I bet, how many times do I try and track you down? It's often.
And I apologize. I have a lot of, as you know, Bryan, a lot of times there's too much on my plate, but I love hanging out with you, and you have a good spirit, and I see it. I see the fire. So,
but my point is, you got to be persistent, right? And you can't ever give up. This is a guy just sold a $300 million company that has hundreds of employees. You got to go after it, and that's what I did, and I appreciate it. I take your advice, and I take it very seriously, and I appreciate it. So, guys, we thank you very much for joining this. We're going to put a link on here for Mentorbox. $7 a month. If you don't jump on this, if you're in sales or trying to be personal growth or anything, you are way behind. You have anything to say? Last words?
I like this conversation, man. And I got to tell you, just like you said, Mentorbox is one of those businesses that I really didn't have to start. And I started it really for a reason. I wanted to build a product that actually I call the win-win-win products. Good for the employees, good for shareholders like yourself, and good for the world. So it is one of those products, and I'm very proud of it.